Here's the thing. Lençóis Maranhenses sits inside a desert, yet it floods every year. Thousands of crystal-clear lagoons form between white sand dunes, some reaching 40 meters high. And what nobody tells you beforehand, the water is warm, almost bath temperature, and completely fresh. No hotels inside, no roads. You arrive by local truck or horse, and that silence, broken only by wind, hits different from anything you've experienced before. The air up there smells like cold rock and nothing else. Trolltunga, Troll's Tongue, hangs 22 meters over a lake 700 meters below. What surprises every first-timer, the hike takes 10 hours round trip and the last stretch is unmarked. No guardrails, no staff, no safety net. Norwegians treat it as a Sunday walk. But what few mention is that the rock itself vibrates slightly underfoot. Wind resonance. Standing there, you stop thinking about the drop entirely. How does a river turn red, yellow, pink, and green all at once? A freshwater plant called Macarenia clavigera grows only here and only blooms between July and November. Miss that window, and it's just another river. But what guidebooks skip? You can't wear sunscreen in the water. Rangers check. Locals say visitors who sneak it in have been quietly escorted out. The river's color is genuinely fragile. One wrong chemical and years of bloom disappear. Defy moves 600 cubic meters of water per second. That's the most powerful waterfall in Europe. Not the tallest, not the widest, but the most powerful. What that actually means, standing there, the ground shakes under your boots from 200 meters away. The mist soaks you before you even see it. Most visitors expect something cinematic and calm. What they get is something closer to standing next to a controlled explosion. Iceland doesn't warn you about that part. Before you see it, you hear it. Then you smell it, wet rock and raw earth. Then a wall of mist appears from nowhere, soaking everything within half a kilometer. Victoria Falls drops 108 meters across a 1.7-kilometer width. But the detail nobody mentions. During peak flow, you can't actually see the waterfall. The mist completely blocks the view. Locals call it the smoke that thunders, and that's not poetry. That's a practical warning about what happens to your camera. Socotra is so isolated that 37% of its plant species exist nowhere else on Earth. The island sits in the Arabian Sea, cut off by monsoon winds 6 months every year, completely unreachable. So life adapted alone for millions of years. The dragonblood tree looks hand-drawn, like an umbrella turned inside out. What visitors don't expect, the locals use its red resin as lipstick, wound sealant, and violin varnish. Same tree, 3 completely different problems solved. A friend walked barefoot across Pamukal and said it felt like stepping on warm velvet. That's the calcium carbonate. Thermal springs have been depositing mineral-rich water over these white terraces for 14,000 years. What nobody warns you, the pools look impossibly white in photos because those images are old. Decades of tourism bleached and cracked large sections. Today, authorities rotate which pools are open, letting others recover. You're walking through active geological restoration. That changes how you look at every step. Raja Ampat contains 75% of all known coral species on Earth. That's not a regional record, that's a global one. It happens because 3 major ocean currents converge here, delivering nutrients from opposite ends of the Pacific. The consequence is underwater visibility that regularly hits 30 meters. But here's what divers actually talk about: the silence. No boats, no crowds below the surface. Just walls of fish so dense they block the light like a passing cloud. Sainte-Cédade sits inside a volcano crater in the Azores. 2 lakes, one green, one blue, separated by a narrow bridge. The problem? The island gets hit by Atlantic storms constantly, making access genuinely unpredictable. Locals adapted by building roads that hug the crater rim. However, what few know is that the color difference between the lakes isn't permanent. It shifts with weather and algae cycles. Some visitors arrive and find both lakes identical green. The postcard shot requires timing, patience, and a little luck. The wind at Drangarnier doesn't push you. It negotiates with you. 2 sea stacks rise from the North Atlantic, one with a natural arch carved through solid basalt. Vikings named these islands for their shape, sharp, like a blade. What nobody prepares you for is the hike itself. No marked trail, knee-deep grass, and fog that rolls in without warning. Guides here don't carry maps. They navigate by memory and sound, listening for wave patterns against rock. That's the real Faroe Islands experience. Hvitserkur is a 15-meter basalt rock rising straight from the sea. And it looks exactly like a drinking dragon. That's not a tourist marketing angle. Icelandic folklore says it's a troll caught by sunrise, frozen mid-step toward the shore. What surprises every visitor? You access it by descending a steep wooden staircase bolted directly into the cliff face. At low tide, you can walk up and touch it. At high tide, it's completely surrounded. Most people miss the tide window entirely and just photograph it from above. Why do those 3 granite towers look like they were cut with a blade? Because they essentially were. Glaciers spent 12 million years carving softer rock away, leaving only the hardest core standing. Each tower reaches nearly 2,800 meters. But what trekkers actually remember isn't the summit view. It's day 4, when your legs stop working properly and the wind hits 90 kilometers per hour, and you're still 3 hours from camp. Patagonia doesn't reward the unprepared. It just quietly reminds you who's in charge. Before limestone karsts started forming here, this entire bay was flat seafloor. Then, tectonic shifts pushed calcium deposits upward over 20 million years, and erosion carved 1,600 individual islands from solid rock. What changes everything about visiting? Skip the day cruises. Overnight boats anchor in quiet lagoons after tourist crowds leave. By 6 a.m., the bay is completely still, mist sitting between islands, fishermen passing silently in wooden boats. That version of Halong Bay exists. Most people just never book the right departure time. Kayatur drops 226 meters in a single unbroken plunge, 4 times taller than Niagara and 5 times more powerful per width. That combination exists nowhere else. But the real implication is logistical. There are no roads to Kayatur. You fly in on a small propeller plane, land on a grass strip, and walk 20 minutes through untouched rainforest. No hotels, no vendors, no crowds. You land, you stand at the edge, you leave. That forced simplicity makes it the most honest waterfall on Earth. Someone who lived there once said the cave rooms stay exactly 19 degrees year-round. No heating, no AC, just rock. Early Christians carved entire underground cities here to hide from Roman persecution. some descending 8 levels below ground. Thousands of people lived completely invisible for generations. Today you sleep in those same carved rooms. The hot air balloons at sunrise are beautiful, sure. But lying underground at night, inside walls cut by hand 2,000 years ago, that's the part that stays with you long after the photos fade.